What's up, live world? It's Wednesday. I barely made it.
Honey bunny, I missed you.
I know. You've been so busy, and I've been so lazy. I can always tell when it's time for me to get a B12 shot because I can barely get myself off the couch.
Wait, I have time to be able to go get a B12 shot.
Well, when I don't make time, I'm not very productive. So anyway, how has your week been at Crazy Beans, Crazy Coffee Town in Jacksonville, Florida?
Right. So it's been a bit overwhelming, but great. We are getting some great feedback by opening Crazy Beans, and then I'm managing Crazy Beans, and then my little company is cooking for Crazy Beans. So I'm all over the place, but I got to jump on a plane early Sunday morning to go to
I saw that and I was very jealous, but I didn't want to say anything, so I just logged out and turned on another K-drama.
Soon there'll be a show coming out. I appeared on a show with Chef Dana in Wilmington, Delaware, and the kitchen studio is amazing.
I know, I'm jealous.
I got to meet Ivan, who is the creator of DTV, Delaware TV, and it was great. It was a good 36-hour mental break for me. I got to just kind of woosah for 2 seconds, and then guess what? I was right back on a plane on Tuesday morning and landed at 9:30 and was back at work by 10 a.m.
Nice. Well, I appreciate everybody bearing with us. Last week, it just didn't feel right.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good moment. I really wasn't in a good mood to be, as my grandmother says, shucking and jiving. So we just decided, let's just do that next week when life is just a little bit different and things are a little bit more lively. So you guys are tuned into the conversation. I'm Chef Shanita. This is Chef Erica. We have 2 amazing guests today. So since we didn't do it last week, we get to do double trouble this week. So I'm pretty sure this conversation is going to go left. That's okay. I'm looking forward to that. So we have Chef Dwight Evans from Chicago and Chef Stephan from Haiti. And I don't remember where he's at exactly right.
He's now in Orlando, Florida.
In Orlando, Florida.
They're going to tell their stories.
Absolutely. So I'm going to bring them in. Welcome, chefs. Introduce yourselves. Hey.
Hello, ladies.
So let's start with Chef Stephan. Chef Stephan, can you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll move on to Chef Dwight.
Oh, absolutely. I've been longing for this conversation. So my name is Chef Stephan, aka the Haitian Chef. Grew up in Haiti and in New York. Started my career as a chef after graduation from Johnson & Wales in the United States Air Force. Worked for multiple corporate companies, but my real story started in 2009 when I moved back to Haiti. And really, a couple of months later, a devastating earthquake would happen, which would kill over 300,000 people. And
horrible.
I sort of took on the mantle of not only promoting Haitian cuisine, but really to change the culinary industry in Haiti. And this is how the Haitian Chef became the Haitian Chef.
Love it. All right, Chef Dwight, you are in Chicago, but all over. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Chef Dwight Evans. I'm originally from Chicago. I grew up in Indiana. As the chef stated, I'm a graduate of Johnson & Wales, Charleston, South Carolina, as well. I'm a graduate of École Supérieure de Cuisine Française in Paris, France. I had the fortunate opportunity to travel the world, and ideally I didn't want to go back to culinary school, but a great friend of mine, Monsieur Bouye, at the time, the Central Region Vice President, I informed him, man, it's my dream to go to France. He said, you'll be a whipping post because you don't speak fluent French. So let me, turn you on to this program and this Anglophone program. See, discuss it with your family and see what you think. So I discussed it with my family, and I went to France. I did my stage in Le Tour Eiffel, in the Eiffel Tower. I worked for Crystal Cruise Lines. Had the fortunate opportunity to be on a couple of world cruises. After that, I came back to the States. So it was like prior to leaving the States, I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I was a chef at several hotels, restaurants. So it's like, well, Indianapolis is really not known for a foodie city. So if I'm going to stay on the East Coast, it has to be Chicago or New York. So Pastor Corey Brooks brought me to Chicago. We opened up Cafe Soul, which was a unique concept because prior to him purchasing a restaurant, it was Dorothy's, and it was a soul food restaurant. But one of his favorite restaurants was Houston's downtown in Chicago. So we had a unique opportunity to display a dual menu. So we had a soul food menu, the soul food, and then we had the fine dining menu.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was my ultimate goal coming back to the States, was coming to Chicago and pursuing that dream and creating economic wealth within a community. I'm involved in several programs for the youth because for me, it's all about giving back.
For sure.
At that particular point, it was about, well, I fulfilled my wildest dream at that particular point. Now, how can I help these young culinarians fulfill their wildest dreams? So I'm involved in several projects to educate the youth, and especially with this COVID going on, it's about giving back. And now, as you all know, that our business is suffering and it's never going to be the same. So how do we reinvent ourselves during this pandemic and after this pandemic?
So
Okay.
let us stop you right there. Go ahead, Shanita.
I was going to ask Stephan about giving back. He said that in his intro that he's the Haitian chef. So I'm just wondering, like, how you're stateside, and of course, COVID is happening. Have you been able to touch base with, your people in Haiti, and how is that working? Because we've all been grounded, right? We're not traveling. We're not going anywhere. All my little trips are canceled. I'm like, I'm too scared to book a flight now because I'm afraid they're going to cancel it.
Well, actually, I just left Haiti. I left Haiti in December of 2019 to come and do a consultation for a Haitian restaurant in New Jersey called First Republic. So I spent the last 10 years in Haiti. My whole mental and my mission really is to give back and to inspire. So in 2011, I launched the Haiti Food and Spirits Festival, Gout, Saveurs Lakay, and
which was amazing. I think I've been there twice, right?
Yes,
I can't ever go anywhere.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Life.
So in 2010, after the earthquake, around August or September, I walked into one of the culinary schools, one of the premier supposedly culinary schools in Haiti, and noticed the disparity between what I had experienced with Johnson and Wales and what these kids were experiencing.
Yeah.
And I made it my mission from that point on, not only to change the whole spectrum of the culinary industry in Haiti, but to really bring those kids to that next level. And a couple of years later, I partnered up with my sister, Chef Erica, and we brought the Chef Summit to Haiti. And I can tell you,
that was 2016.
That's correct.
That was the longest one because it was like 13 days.
So it was 5 days, 5 years after the first one.
Right.
And we brought a number of chefs including our mutual friend Colleen Vincent from James Beard Foundation. And I can tell you that out of all of the festivals where I bring over 15 international chefs, Haitian and non-Haitian chefs to Haiti, this was the most emotional one.
Yeah.
The chefs walked into a culinary school with me, and me talking about Haiti and me talking about these kids and me talk and having the conversation of being mentors and influencers. Um, Not one chef was not in tears. Every single one of them, I think that day understood that they had a greater purpose other than being a chef. And for me, that was a pivotal moment, really in everything that I did from that point on. And I've made it my mission ever since to continue to support culinary education in Haiti, not only through the festival, but through everything that I do,
Yeah.
which is why I founded Haiti Chefs for Education. Haiti Chefs for Education what started, even though Haiti Chefs for Education started in 2012, it really became evident that that was the mission when we did the Chef Summit in Haiti
Yeah.
5 years later after the earthquake. So
I think it's just important that you guys are both living mentors, because for some of our Black and Brown students, they don't think it's possible, because even to this day, this is 2021, you still have people saying I'm the first and I'm the only, or there's just a few of us. And it's like, why, are we still in 2021? There's a whole culinary class at school where there's 2 or 3 African American students. There's no Native American students. There's very few, Hispanic students. When we all know that the culinary industry in Haiti and here in the United States was built on the backs of Black and Brown people anyway. So why are we not reaping the financial rewards of all those hundreds of years of hard labor? So I love it.
and I'm very proud to say that finally, in 2021, the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, finally made a decision to introduce African culinary studies into their program.
Yep.
And I'm proud to say that I'm a member of that delegation.
Awesome.
Also with one of our chef brothers from Senegal, Pierre Thiam, and many others.
That's people don't think people have to understand how like groundbreaking and mind blowing that is, because when I went to culinary school, it was just a little blip, right? We're like, oh, this is a regional American cuisine, and you've got this, and this, and next Sunday we're going to do the South. Okay, moving right along, we're going on to France. So you're like, literally, we did that for one.
You missed some stuff. Yeah.
How did we cover the whole history of Southern foodways and African American food culture in the United States in 2 classes? I don't know how they managed to do that, which means they didn't do it justice.
I thank Dr. Jessica Harris,
Teresa Nelson,
Chef Mitchell, Teresa Nelson, absolutely. There's a number of Black and Brown chefs that are a member of this new community, and I can tell you that the experience of these students for this very first series of class has been mind-blowing.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the professors, which are non-Black and Brown, the teachers in the classes are asking to bring the series and to continue the series throughout the whole year.
That's amazing.
So for me, that's a kudos, even though it's taken so long.
Right.
It's a kudos. And I'm going to tell you this. I am in the middle of preparing for Haitian Heritage Month, which starts May 1st. And I had a beautiful conversation with Cherie Williams, from Cuisine Noire.
Yeah.
And
Nora
the
was-
question
Nora
that I
was-
asked her, and I want to ask this question to all of you guys. Why is it in 2021? Nothing against the James Beard Foundation. I have a lot of respect for their work. I have a lot of respect for what they've done in the culinary space. But why is it in 2021 are we waiting for validation from an organization like the James Beard House? And why is it that we don't have an organization of our own that recognizes Black and brown chefs in the food space? And why is it that we don't have a culinary house creating the same opportunities for Black and brown chefs, the same that James Beard is doing? So the conversation is started. I have put oil in the motor. I have put gas, and I said to Cherie, let's start this conversation for real, so that in 2022 we have an organization that is recognizing and awarding Black and brown chef in the food space, and that it is us doing it.
All right, Chef Dwight, I know you want to jump in on that.
Chef, I spoke with a prominent chef, very, very prominent African American chef, about the same particularities about what we're discussing, and I don't. That particular chef really didn't want that type of recognition, but I was saying, well, Chef, let's honor you. Why can't we have our James Beard? And true enough, James Beard they're recognizing people of color now, but why can't we have exactly? I'm Pooh. By we too fake. I'm Pooh. So,
Okay, we have French here. We also
we're not
starting that mess today.
why can't we have our own organization to where James Beard is not a chef. He was never a chef. Why? And not taking anything from him, but James Beard organization is the Oscars, if you will, of the culinary industry. But why can't we have our own validification and our own
I think that
our people, our chefs
I think we
color,
could.
not excluding people of non-color.
No.
Why can't we have our own organization? And what I found, Chef, is unfortunately, man, is a lot of us don't want to come together, man. A lot of us, I don't want you to become more famous than me. I don't want you to get more pieces of the pie than me. I don't want you to become bigger than me. So if I made it to the mountaintop, I don't want to pull you up by your bootstraps. So
you're killing me right now.
Like other nationalities and other races, they stick together. However, we have a tendency, people of color, I want to be on this mountaintop by myself. And
I fight this every day within the Haitian Culinary Alliance, which I co-founded in 2012. And today, even today in 2021, after 8 years, I am still fighting this. But listen, there's nothing wrong with James Beard.
No.
There's nothing wrong with, listen, I have to give them credit for what they've done in the culinary space for the length of time that they've done it.
Sure.
And the respect and the acknowledgement of that respect is given.
Sure.
But there is nothing wrong with having that conversation. And I told Cherie, we're going to bring people who understand this conversation,
Right.
who want to have this conversation, and who are willing to put their foot forward to make those decisions.
Okay, Stephan, let me stop you right there, okay?
Chef Erica, can I just
You had a question though, too.
For 3 seconds. I know Cherie very well, and whatever conversation you guys would like to have, I would love to be, in on the conversation or whatever I can do, if anything. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry, because all three of us know her. She's written some great articles on us all.
Sure.
let me say 2009, I had a dream, right? I had a dream. I needed to be back in the same situation that Ebony magazine put me in 2006, when I walked into a room and it was nothing but Black chefs. That was the first time I had ever been in a room with nothing but Black chefs, right? Moving along a little bit further down the line, 2009, I was speaking with my mom and I said, why is it that we're not recognizing ourselves? Why is it that people keep saying we're not out there? I started Culinary Wonders USA. I on our board was Chef Wayne Johnson, Chef Joe Rando, Chef Amadeus, Chef Matthew Rayford, Chef Earl Isabel. We had quite a few prominent. It was all men, right? I needed some women, but they weren't. It wasn't in my circle at the moment. So we were discussing and we started doing the wine dinners. Then all of a sudden I pulled in and I said, we need to do a summit. We need to start talking about these issues that we're going through, right? From 2010 to 2000, and the last one was 2019, right? And all that missed, that's when I met all of you except Shanita. Shanita's been in my life all her life practically. But I'm sitting in this chair and the question was, why aren't we being recognized by our own people? Dwight, you already said, we don't know how to come together. To this day, there's so many brown cliques at different levels. Oh, well, we can't have this person in this circle because there's so much more. Everybody is pretty much the same because we all can cook.
Right, that part.
Right? That is the thing. And we all are chefs. We all have that same passion, but we cannot come together because this person feels like they're higher than this person. Yeah. We're all in the same mix because when it comes down right to it, and I have some amazing white friends, but they still look at us the same. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, and so we had a question. Kayla asked, why are we basing our success on their rules? And so I don't think
Erica just answered the question. And Chef Dwight just answered the question.
Right.
But here's the thing.
At the same time, though, Stephan, we make more money when we're recognized by white people. We don't make more money when we're recognized by our own community.
I want to bring up something, and this is, I think that I'm like a solutions person. And so I think that we've done something really amazing with this podcast. We brought a whole bunch of different people together and we've gotten a whole bunch of different perspectives. And I feel like we have a good core group of people who are wanting to push us forward. And so last season we interviewed Keith Rhodes. And I always go back to this. He's like, sometimes you have to be the person out in the wood cutting down the trees and blazing the trail. And I feel like we're at this point now where the people that have participated in this podcast, the people who support this podcast can come together and be the people in the woods cutting down the trails. And so maybe the first awards, you get 10 people. And maybe the next time you get 300 people, but that's not the point. The point is that as a collective, because there's so many of us that have participated in this and have supported this, who are like-minded, that we can come together. And we have our own James Beard-esque people amongst our culture that we can honor. We can honor Leah Chase. We can honor Edna Lewis. We can honor Patrick Clark. We can. And the list goes on and on and on and on. I think that really where we are with this, and that's what this whole conversation is about. We know what the problems and the issues are, and COVID has given us we had all of 2020 to get our vision clear, and now we're in 2021, and we can start pushing forward and moving forward with this thing. We just got to move. We have to decide amongst ourselves that come hell or high water, and if the big name people, the chosen ones, don't participate, so what? We're still moving forward.
Oh no, that's their freaking problem. That's their freaking problem, and I'm going to tell you why. I have been a disturber of calm waterways, and I did it in Haiti when chefs, colleagues, told me it couldn't be done, told me it wouldn't be done, told me ain't no way in hell you're going to put a festival together with a bunch of chefs. First of all, I even met a chef who had been at one of the premier hotels in Haiti for 30 years and literally told me there are no Haitian chefs in Haiti.
Wow.
What? Really? And then he told me, you will never be able to put an alliance together because we can't come together for one vision.
Yeah.
And guess what? I've proven them wrong,
Yeah,
him wrong, and I even had chefs who had chefs who even tried to destroy the work that I had started.
like James
And I said, you know
Clear.
what? You're about to see.
And I agree. I don't, this podcast obviously was on my list of things to do, right? And prior to COVID, it's like I don't have time. I have to keep checking these boxes. I have to, we were in this rat race of an industry that kind of had you believing that you couldn't take a moment away to kind of work on your passion projects because you were going to get left behind. Like if I stop and go do something else, then I'm going to be off the radar. I'm going to stop getting noticed. I'm going to, do all that.
I'm sorry. Whenever you finish, Chef, may I propose a question?
Go for it. Yeah.
Why is it that the duration of 400 years of slavery, where it was considered a servant's job, that our people were doing the cooking? It wasn't until the 1970s when Chef Louis, a Hungarian chef, went to Congress and said that in Europe, chefs is a white collar job. It's not a blue collar job. Then after they did this claim that it's a white collar job, well, guess what? All of the color in the kitchens left, so they brought in the European chefs here in America, and black people couldn't get a job in the kitchens. You're not qualified to be in these kitchens, but your ancestors, it's been handed down for 400 years. But now all of a sudden, now that it's a profession, you're not qualified to do this job. So a lot of black people a lot of people of color has been eliminated from even getting into the kitchens. Therefore, they cannot get publicity and they cannot get their due process because they can't even get in the kitchens. So now we've been locked out. So how do we get publicity? Well, we don't have a lot of revenue laying around to create our own businesses. There's very few Edna Lewises. There's very few of them. However, at the end of the day, if we can't even get in the kitchen, why were we barred from the kitchen? Because
this is the
they claimed it as a profession.
So this is the beauty of the 21st century, right? We know why we were barred from the kitchens: patriarchy and racism. Bottom line, point blank, period. And so, when you're looking at all of these systems, right? I just had this conversation last night. Why can't we feed people? Because we don't want to. Why can't we have development in urban areas? Because they don't want to. I posted on my Facebook that everybody's giving the USDA a pat on the back because they have decided finally that free lunch is a thing. Like, kids shouldn't have to go to school and worry about eating. Do you know how many Black and brown children were labeled as behavior problems and have struggled through school with these marks and these pre-existing thoughts by teachers because they were simply hungry? They were simply hungry, and now we've medicated them. We done sent them to alternative school, and we've turned them into these things over a little simple thing, food. We know that they don't want to do it because they don't want to. But what I was telling the people last night, and what I'm saying to all the people who watch this and who watch it later, it's a community up solution. It's not a top-down solution. It's something that we are going to have to band together as a few, and you know, to quote Julia Turshen, stir the pot. And make it happen for ourselves. That's all it is to it. We're all sitting around for the last 60 years waiting on permission to be great and be successful, and making ourselves small so that we can fit into these little boxes that other people want to define us by. You know, it sucks that African American foodways wasn't popular until white chefs made it popular. Now white people are telling me that the food that I grew up eating is in vogue.
Yeah. If your grandmother making gravy, it's gravy. But if the Europeans, if the Frenchies make it, they start with a roux.
Right.
It's called sauce.
Sauce.
Not sauce. Not sauce, but sauce.
Right. Right. And when you look at cultural cuisine, right? Indigenous cuisine from Africa, African American food, Haitian food, Jamaican food, it's deemed unhealthy. Oh, that's not healthy. And I say this all the time. I'm like, okay, but there are other cultures that are eating bugs, and y'all are like, oh my God, look at that. That's so extreme.
It's not even that. It's within our own people. It says there are certain dishes from Haiti that don't get on the table. We don't serve it to regular people. You know, this is poor people's food.
But that's the thing. In other cultures, poor people's food is now street food. Right. And, you know, it's so, you know, it's trendy now. I had to tell someone, stop calling them street tacos. I'm so sick of hearing that.
Right.
And then chefs, I've seen recent posts. Someone posted on Facebook about chitlins. They made a picture about chitlins, and someone said, you're not a slave any longer. That's slave food. However, in France, chitlins is andouillette, and it's fine dining.
Right.
In France, in other cultures, I don't prefer it because I don't like the texture. I also don't eat oatmeal. So there's that.
Sure.
Listen, you know, this is the reason why I made it a point since I started the festival in Haiti, not only to invite chefs that were from Haiti, but had never claimed themselves as Haitian chefs, many of them had never been to Haiti in 25, 30 years since they were kids. But I also invited other Black and brown chefs, Caribbean chefs, so that they could experience Haiti a different way.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I had ambassadors. I wanted to make sure that I had people who had never been to Haiti, would never experience Haiti, but were willing to make the trip. And what they left with is forever imprinted in their memory.
Sure. And that's where we are. It's our job now, post-COVID, to take charge of our food, of our cultural heritage. It's Absolutely. Our job to push it to the forefront. And now that you have, you know, social media, you don't necessarily need all of those big budgets. And I mean, you guys, this woman made a freaking bacon pie. Okay.
Can you please stop watching this woman
on Facebook, and had the dog licking her fingers and was touching the rock? 4 million views. So if some bull crap like that can get 4 million views, you can't tell me that we can't get ourselves together and start putting out our own content and start taking charge and control.
But you see, there is an experience that you can only have when you make the trip, unfortunately.
Right.
I can tell you, and this is what pissed me off January 1st when one of our chefs.
Oh gosh, not this again.
Decided that he was gonna pay homage to the Haitian soup on Bon Appetit,
I swear, Chef
really-
Vicky
and-
had a
threw-
stroke after
and
that.
threw me a curveball, and threw me a rock in the head. And I'm going to tell you, I was able to have a conversation with him on the phone, and I said,
And that's
Chef.
what we have to do. We have to
And I
gather
said,
our own
Chef.
people. You got to
I
gather
said,
them.
Chef, come on, man.
And what was his answer? What was his response?
He said, well, I didn't think there was going to be such a backlash, and that all I wanted to do was pay homage to the Haitian soup. I said, Chef, you've been to Miami. You did a whole episode on Haiti. You hung out with Haitian chefs. You hung out in a Haitian household. They taught you how to make Haitian soup. What are you doing, man? And I said, you did a faux pas. I'm not gonna be like those who attacked you on social media. I'm not gonna be like those who cursed your ass out. Okay. Oh yeah. It got nasty. Haitian people don't play with their soup. Okay. Haitian people don't play with their soup.
Oh, trust me. Any chef that I know have a relationship that is Haitian. I heard about that. I literally just stopped hearing about it from them.
We had Vicky on right after that.
Yeah, she was hot.
Vicky
Hot.
Cola on right after that. I was with her for the weekend of New Year's.
Hot.
And I was in there while she was taking pictures and making video and posting and tagging Bon Appetit and many others.
Listen, I wrote a whole letter to Bon Appetit. I wrote a letter to Bon Appetit.
Well, you weren't the only one.
They called me 2 days later. They called me 2 days later and wanted to have an open conversation. Then come to find out that the new editor-in-chief is a black woman.
Yes.
Okay. The assistant editor-in-chief is from India. So it's obvious that they're trying to.
Well, there have been quite a few boo-boos while they're trying to.
But boo-boos, that was one of them.
And what were you going to say, Chef Dwight?
Let me ask y'all this. How vindictive or how destructive do you guys feel when people choose to go and make a rebuttal or make remarks or do a faux pas if you choose, but and they do it on social media versus reaching out to you? I mean, that could be detrimental to your brand, to your country, to your type of cuisine. I mean, why is it that people have a tendency to just sit in the comforts of their own home or their vehicle and just slander people? Or if Chef, you're from Haiti, I'm not from Haiti.
He could have reached out. He could have reached out to a number of chefs.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing with that. We talked about this with Paola Valise last month. And so because she was the it girl, right? They're like, oh, you want to do something for Juneteenth? And she's like, no, I don't. I'm not African American. I don't celebrate Juneteenth. However, I have a list of people right here who are qualified to speak to Juneteenth. And so what we have to do as chefs, and this is something that Teresa and I talked about, like we have our little after show conversations, is that we got to hold ourselves accountable as chefs and not feel like, oh, I'm not going to get my chance. So I'm just going to, I know how to make a little bit of chocolate enough to be dangerous. I would never go and rep a chocolate company and make chocolate. She's taught me just enough to make one or two things. I would look like a damn fool. But what I would say is my mentor actually is a chocolatier and specializes in this. Let me connect you with her so that you guys can work that out and feel okay with passing on that opportunity. And this is what we have to do. And I feel like we're kind of creating this community and this network amongst the people and the guests of this podcast where we feel comfortable being like, hey, I know I've gotten some visibility, but I don't do Haitian foods. But my chef friend Stephan does. Let me connect you with him. That's the person that you need to do it with. Now then to the social media. if I have a personal relationship with you, I'm gonna call you and be
Yep.
like, you know, I'm calling. Like, what the are you doing? Take that
Absolutely.
down. But if I don't, and it's like, and I have been under like there's been a couple of things like Chef Ann was making some jerk chicken on Food Network, and I definitely shared and was like, here's what I don't need. I don't need Ann Burrell teaching me how to make jerk anything. Okay.
Thank
What I'm gonna
you.
need you all to do is find somebody who's Jamaican or West African and let them do the jerk, because her jerk was awfully blonde, not grilled, and it didn't look like no jerk I've ever seen. Just because she was nice on it, sis, does not make it jerk chicken. Stop it.
I think we should. It was a show on Netflix, right? What's her name? Shanita, who is from Top Chef, the host of Top Chef. Long black hair.
That one's on Hulu. Padma. Yeah.
So she did a show, right? And she was hitting every culture. She was flying here, flying there. She didn't know nothing about Geechee Gully, right? Who did she go to? She flew down to South Carolina. She met with one of our friends in Geechee Gully land, and she had an episode. She went to China. Well, she went to Chinatown in New York. But she was in New York, but she met with one of the authentic Chinese restaurants in there. But that's the way you do it. You don't say, hey, guess what? Guess what I'm doing? That's not what you do.
This
If
ain't
you
flying.
have a great influence, that's fine. Hey, I was taught, this is something that I learned, and you put that out there and say it that way. But you don't say, I'm an expert at blah, blah, blah.
You don't fly. This ain't flying the cuckoo's nest. Okay?
Right.
This is not flying the cuckoo's nest. And you know what? I even extended an olive branch to him. And I said, you know what? I would love to invite you to Haiti.
I didn't understand that.
I would love to invite you to Haiti. I would love to invite you to Haiti during my festival. And you know who put us in touch with each other? It was Gregory Gourdet. Okay? Gregory was a Haitian chef, who's a chef from Haiti. His parents are from Haiti. He grew up in Haiti for the most part. And Gregory actually came to Haiti to do research.
Right.
He flew down to Haiti because that wasn't his thing. Haitian cuisine was never his thing. He does Vietnamese cuisine. That's his thing. That's what made him one of the top chefs on Bravo. But you know what? He humbled himself enough and called me and said, Chef Stephan, would you be willing to hang out with me for a week and a half? I'm coming down to Haiti. And guess what? He put me on the phone with Marcus. And I said, Marcus, I'm extending you the olive branch because I think you need it, brother. You need it.
So
we need to shake this up a little bit.
No, I want to talk about homage and appropriation, because this is why. Because Chef Dwight said in his intro that he trained in France.
Mm-hmm.
But you opened a fine dining / soul food restaurant in Chicago. And then Stephan is Haitian, trained at Johnson & Wells, and is now back in the United States, working on Haitian food. And so we all know that as chefs, a part of our love is the travel, the learn, the experiencing, the immersing ourselves in other cuisine, right? So when do you draw the line between appropriating someone's cultural cuisine? And I'm not just talking about Haitian, West Africa. I'm talking about all cuisine, because Chef Dwight could be doing something French inspired, and people feel like, when is it appropriation and when is it appreciation, and what's the responsible way, in you all's opinion, because you're well traveled, to insert those influences into your cuisine?
Well, let me say first that I grew up in Haiti. Okay, I was born in Haiti and grew up in Haiti. But yes, my culinary career did not start in Haiti. My culinary career started in the United States after Johnson & Wales. I went home. I wanted to understand what my cuisine was about. I remembered the Sunday dinners of my grandmother. I remembered the food that has marked my childhood till this day. But I also understood that if I was going to take on this title, this mentor, I needed to go home. I needed to immerse myself in study and study
And
and
that's
be a
amazing. So even
and
as
be
a
a
Haitian,
student.
you felt like you had to be a
Oh
student of your
no!
own
Oh no! No!
cuisine.
No! No! And I'm gonna say this, and to know, and then to no particular negativity towards any Haitians living in the diaspora. But what you've been eating at Haitian restaurants in restaurants in the diaspora is not Haitian food.
Okay.
You're eating just a small percentage of what Haitian food is. You're eating stuff that is very popular and that is easy to make. But Haitian food is so much more than that.
But
Right.
I need to interrupt you because I think every culture could say that. Here in the United States, as in bringing your culture over to the United States, most of the time, only the popular dishes are put on the menu because they want to make money.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But I'm
So
going to say this,
we
though.
completely understand what you're saying, but at the same time, when you're coming to America and you need to feed your family, you're gonna put the
Oh,
most
no.
dishes
100% in agreement. 100% in agreement. But here's the thing. It's not the job of the mom and pop restaurateur who opens a mom and pop shop in the diaspora to do that job. It is the job of chefs to do that job. It is the job of chefs who are from Haiti, who decide that they're going to call themselves a Haitian chef and say, yo, let me do my homework. Let me do my job as a culinarian. I
And so
cannot blame the mom and pop for wanting to sell fried fish and fried pork on the menu because that's what makes money.
right.
Absolutely not.
And so Chef Dwight, what is your opinion on all this?
For me, I mean, my grandmother was the best chef I ever worked for. So my grandmother, Mary Hazard, in honor of her, I have Mary Hazard's Bistro LLC. So for me, it was about, my grandmother told me one time, boy, you made the best greens I ever tasted in my life. And I was like, Granny, I'm just trying to duplicate yours. But for me, I've always been into the art of presentation, and I'm not Picasso, I'm not a Rembrandt, but I'm a chef, I'm an artist, I'm a culinary artist.
Exactly.
I want my personality to come on to show on that plate when I present that plate. And for Southern food or soul food, you can't necessarily get that because if you do too much to a bowl of greens, you're trying to be too fancy, or you can't plate it up in the proper way.
Listen, the black grannies was so hot with me for putting the black eyed peas and the tomatoes in the greens. They was hot.
Yeah.
They said it's got to be separate. I said, but why? It tastes so good all together. They said at first, and then fast forward a year later, I got people like, I don't have enough black eyed peas in my greens. Okay, wait a minute now. Y'all was all mad last year because I put the black eyed peas and the diced tomatoes on top. Now this year, y'all like, well, can I have some more black eyed peas in my greens? I'm like, okay,
but you got the backlash. But for me, it's like I was always into the fine dining, to the presentation. Let me do something besides. It's enough soul food, Southern cuisine, chefs, cooks, whatever. I can't compete with your grandmother. I can't compete with my grandmother. So let me stay in my lane. Let me create something that could be a soul food or Southern influence in a different way, where I could plate it up and I can make it pretty and put my personality on the plate. It's like painting. It's like painting the picture. Here's my plate, and you could tell if I'm having a bad day. If you know me as a chef, you could say, damn, he's having a great day. Look at this presentation. Or damn, this is sloppy. Did he do this? He's having a bad day, or somebody else did it. So for me, it's about the presentation, because we eat with our eyes first and foremost. So it's like, let me create something that can have the foundation that we have as African Americans, as Africans, or whatever people of color. But how can I present something in a manner to where it's visually pleasing, besides, chicken and waffles, and not knocking that at all. A bowl of candy sweet potatoes or candy yams. I want to. How can I take that and twist that, put a twist on that, to make it the plate balanced, to make it, present my emotions on the plate, my
Give it some elevation
as an artist. And so that's what I've always been into.
And that's the job of a culinary artist. That's the job of a culinary artist.
Yeah,
and I think that people.
I don't knock my cuisine. That's the way we cook at home. But for the business, I cook oxtails at home. In the business, I do a compressed oxtail, or beef cheeks or something like that. But I want to present it in a different manner than just something that's just plopped on the plate and here you go.
Well, and I think that we have to get back to the art of it, and that's what I try to instill in the young people, taking it all the way back to the mentorship. Everybody wants to be famous. Everybody wants to be on Food Network. Everybody wants to be Emerald. And they forget, Emerald had like 2 or 3 failed Food Network shows before he got to Emerald Live. Emerald, has been divorced, 4, 5 times? Because the man has 11 restaurants. Okay. How do you run 11 restaurants and have a successful personal life? You don't. So don't look at the personal, that fame, and forget about the work. I think that so many of us want the fame, but out the work. We're not chefs. We're culinary artists. People keep asking me if I'm an artist. I'm like, yes, I'm an artist. I express myself through food. I can't draw a damn thing, but I can tell you how I feel in a meal. And if I don't like you, like you just said, Dwight, it probably ain't gonna taste all that great.
Let me throw this out here, because we're also, because of the conversation, how it came about was because of COVID. Also, Shanita wanted a podcast. She called me and said, "Hey, what do you think?" Said, "Let's do it." Hey, I know some people. Let's get them on the show, right? But it was really also our we were wondering what people were going through during COVID, as in our fellow chefs at the same time, right? Now, yes, we're all culinary artists, but we kind of have to push that aside to a certain degree, because people don't have patience. Have you noticed, because of COVID, people have been locked up in their house, but now they're out in the road. They're back out of their house.
The panoramic is canceled.
Driving like maniacs. There's long drive-through lines for all this fast food and all this quick food. Yes, by chance, some of our closest friends still have their restaurants, and they're doing curbside.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And how is it to be a culinary artist and put it in a to-go container?
It's a blow to your ego. But at the same time, fine dining and
it's dead.
Molecular gastronomy, that's the thing of the past. Right now, people want comfort food. They want the bang for their buck. Yeah, it's a hurting experience for you as a Michelin 2 or 3 star chef to put your things in a styrofoam box. But you want to be a Michelin. You want to be a Michelin star chef out of work, or do you want to make money?
Right. So, for example, the restaurant The Gray in Savannah, Georgia, the chef, a beautiful young woman, black chef. I always forget everybody's name.
Mashamba Bailey.
Thank you.
James
Chef Bailey. She went to New York. She did a collaboration with Lexus, and she, Chef Teresa purchased one of her dinners, right? And it came in to-go container. But that was the finest to-go container I ever seen. I think it was maybe between $65 to $100 for that one entree. And it had it was like beautiful, like very refined to-go carry out. From the dessert to the appetizer to the entree with the sauces on the side, to a point where people were bringing it home, setting up their plates, taking pictures and posting it. And that is a thing now, because now people are interacting with her. So now she's making money off of that.
Do you guys feel like, I think it's because you have to think outside of the box. And so if you want to be successful post-COVID, it can't be business as usual. And I don't want to offend any fine dining restaurateur when I say fine dining is dead. However, the idea of people in this economic environment going and spending, $200 a person eating, there's a even smaller group of people who are able to do that. But does that mean that the meticulousness and the excellence that goes into a fine dining meal cannot be translated into a to-go item? No, it doesn't. It just means that we've got to encourage our culinary artists to think and step outside.
And let's go pre-pandemic. I mean, let's just be
honest. It was
honest.
barely surviving pre-pandemic.
We're all restaurateurs. So, I mean, you can mark up food X amount, but the money is not in the food. The money is in the wine. You can mark up wine 200%. So people are really paying for the experience. They're coming for the food, but they're paying for the ambiance, the service, the experience. But food has never made the money. It's always been the wine. So now that you take that away, so now you're dealing with curbside or delivery, hub grub, or whatever those.
Also, but it depends on the state also, because here in Florida, you can order your food and also get a cocktail to go.
One second, my alarm is going off. One second, my alarm is going off.
Yep, go ahead.
Here too.
But you can do that. So people are taking advantage of that big time. Especially the restaurants.
Okay, so the last thing I want to talk about before we do our last question, I want to talk about this restaurant bill that we fought for. We fought for a year for this restaurant bill. I know here, and I don't know how it's working where you guys are, our SBA has been very intentional to work with the Black Chamber, the Hispanic Chamber, and trying to target those mom and pop. And I want to take it lower because they're not really small businesses, because by the standards of the SBA, Shake Shack was a small business, right? Go down below that to a micro business. And these are really the businesses that really impact the economy of the area surrounding the job market and the economy of the area surrounding them. What do I still have a hard time. So on our webinar that we had here, you guys, do you want to know how many restaurants are on? 10.
Wow.
10.
Out of how many?
I'm saying there's probably a cool 100 minority-owned restaurants in this area. And out of that 100, there were 10 restaurants that got on. And it's for caterers, it's for personal chefs, it's for all of us. Why is that? What all throughout COVID, I've been hearing people and reading their posts about we're struggling, we can't make it. And then the Independent Restaurant Association and some of the chefs with James Beard, because it was in our last policy boot camp, we talked a lot about this bill. They got feedback from us on this bill, and it's a reality. And in like 2 days, it opens up. And I had 10 restaurants participate in the thing. How can we encourage our businesses to participate? Finally, we're getting something and we're not participating.
I'm sorry, Chef. I missed that question.
We were talking about the Independent Restaurant Association and the new grant bill that's coming, and how our my SBA here in Kansas City, they've really been working with the Hispanic Chamber, the Black Chamber, to make sure they get the information out, doing webinars and letting people know, hey, this is coming. This is how you need to get prepared. This is what you got to do. And we only had 10 people participate on our webinar. So I'm just trying to figure out, are you guys seeing that there? Are you having other conversations? How do we get people to participate?
I think here in Chicago, in particular, because I reside here, the PPP, It's been several restaurants, big name restaurants, which I will not name. Some has gotten up to 10 million. Some has given it back. So even here in Chicago, there's a work shortage, number one. The restaurants really don't want to be associated with that. Yeah, they definitely want the assistance. However, they don't want to be in headlines in the newspaper because they're revealing restaurants that have received these astronomical numbers from the PPP or what have you. So a lot of restaurants don't want to participate in that. So
because they don't want to be in the media.
Has resulted to curbside pickup. They reduced their staff by 95%.
And see, the thing about this grant that restaurants don't know is that if it pays off your PPP loan, they're going to pay off your PPP loan and then give you they pay your PPP loan off and then you get the difference.
What is the grant called?
It's the Restaurant Revitalization Act grant. Yep, it opens up tomorrow, the 30th, Friday. So what they're doing is the SBA they're going to pay off you're taking your gross receipts from 2019 against your gross receipts from 2020 minus your PPP loan, and that's the grant amount you qualify for. You guys, I'm not saying it's the loan amount you qualify for. I'm saying it's the grant.
It's the grant
amount.
It's the grant. Loans have to be paid back. Grants.
Grant is just grant. Yeah. Grant. It's like, what is this? Like $26 billion. But wow. They're doing it like they did the second round of PPP. So they're opening it up to women-owned, minority-owned, and veteran-owned businesses for the first 2 weeks. Then it's a free-for-all after that. Sure. So hopefully anybody who's watching it, you will go on to contact your local SBA office and find out, because it opens on Friday. And this is an opportunity to kind of level the playing field a little bit for our smaller businesses and get us some serious funding. Sure. Okay, last question. If you could go back.
I have one last question. Why can't we, and I have my own determination, but even pre-pandemic, the hospitality field has been hurt so bad. Latinos don't want to do the jobs no more. Even with $15 an hour that's going to be made into law, no one wants to do those jobs. I mean, if you go to CIA and you got $150,000 in student loans,
and they talk about I need $10 an hour.
You come out as if you're lucky as a sous chef and you're making $10 an hour. It's not feasible anymore. Our business, due to television, it exposed our business because
it diminished our value. It diminished our value.
We would do it for free. Now, the younger generation, I want to get paid, so they want to come out of culinary school, and I was
making $120,000 a year.
After leaving Johnson I was like, hey, you know what? I'm a chef. No, it don't work like that.
Listen,
so I'm not making $65,000.
Listen, if you ever been on Clubhouse,
dude, I have to take down my phone.
I haven't been on Clubhouse for like.
If you have ever been on Clubhouse,
never heard of it,
and it have been okay, I'm happy you haven't. Okay, if you haven't been on Clubhouse, listen, I'm being real, and I know there's gonna be some people listening to this podcast that's gonna be pissed at me, but I'm always going to be honest. There are so many people in Clubhouse today, in so many clubs, and everybody is a chef. Everybody is a chef.
That rooms full of 200-300 people. I'm like, how are there 300 chefs in the middle of the damn day?
Listen,
at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, 300 chefs on Clubhouse for hours.
Listen, in the very few conversations, certain of us I've had about what it is to be a chef, what it takes to be a chef. It has offended so many people that we've avoided this conversation.
Wow.
They get mad.
If I'm a home chef, I'm a TV chef, I'm an internet chef.
Chef Peggy just said, ask them to debone a chicken and do soy sauce.
But listen,
Nothing.
Let alone the mother sauces.
Right.
Listen.
They don't know their foundations.
And I tell
but you don't know the foundation.
and I tell people,
Go ahead, and then I'm going to tell you something.
and I tell people, until you've worked 15 hours on your feet, with pain coming down of your lower back all the way down to your legs, and you've got cramps that are stopping you from putting your feet on the floor,
Dude.
and work a Sunday by yourself in this kitchen, okay? And I'm working literally on one foot.
And the ticket machine and the tickets is on the floor.
It never stopped. It never stopped. Listen, it never stopped. From 11 o'clock I started till 7 o'clock at night on a Sunday. I never stopped working. One of the owners actually had to get in the kitchen with me and said, "Chef, how is it that you're doing this?" I said, "I made a commitment to you to run this kitchen.
Yes, sir.
And no matter how I feel,
Yes,
no matter how much pain I'm dealing with, I will take care of the job."
Right.
Because that's what it demands.
Right. And so here's what people ask me. They say, "How did you win Cutthroat Kitchen?" Because I have a foundation. And so when I was under that immense amount of pressure, I didn't have to think. My hands knew what the fuck to do. I wasn't standing there like, I'm like, oh, I know how to do that. Boom, boom, boom. And it just happens. And that's the part they're missing.
It's trained muscle behavior.
Memory.
You've been there before.
So listen, I ain't knocking on nobody's hustle. I ain't knocking on nobody's hustle. But when you've been in this business for 20 plus years, like all of us here on this panel, and I've understood what it takes, and the pain, and working through pain, and managing people who don't want to be managed.
You're babysitting.
Okay?
Oh, chef, I'm sorry. Not only you're not only a babysitter, you're a wedding counselor, you're a big brother, you're a psychologist, a psychiatrist, you're all of that.
And so let me tell you, my business partner, I left my business partner to come and have this wonderful chat with you guys. He's sitting here right now. Him and his wife have invested their life savings, left corporate jobs. He was an executive chef at Disney, making over $100,000 a year. And they had this brilliant idea of opening a restaurant in Orlando. He called me at 9 o'clock this morning, said, "Chef, my employees bailed out on me today. I need help because I have a luncheon with the commissioner in the chamber to feed 25 people." And I said, "Chef, I'm on my way." So you want to call yourself a chef? You want to call yourself a chef? Make sure you can handle that title.
Well, and explain to me how you have time in the middle of lunch service, because we on at 12 o'clock in the afternoon to sit on here for hours.
Listen, I got hit with COVID as hard as everybody else. I spent the first 3 months. Oh, look at who's here. Look at who's here. I ain't even gonna say her name because she don't want to talk to me no more.
I am not talking.
She don't want to call me. She's not my friend.
No.
Okay? She's not my friend.
We brought Vicky on the show.
But luckily for me,
Chef Stephan, we brought Vicky on the show because we were hitting some topics that she had and it's coming up on my feed. And
So
I feel that the voices, y'all three voices, you, Stephan, Vicky, and Chef Dwight,
luckily for
we're
me,
hitting on some things. that I think her voice is also important on the subjects that we're talking about.
So luckily for me, I still get some love from her husband.
Oh God,
But I
Listen,
ain't gonna
we're not,
say
we're
nothing
not
about
pulling that
that.
out.
I ain't gonna
We're
say
not
Welcome
pulling
to
nothing
our
about
table.
that.
he
I ain't
hasn't
gonna
made
say
an
nothing about that.
appointment.
I'm a very sensitive guy, and I'm extremely jealous too.
Oh
So
gosh.
listen,
I
I ain't got
love
no
you
problem
too,
saying it.
brother.
I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say
I
it. But
love
But
you
seriously though,
too.
but
Vicky had
seriously
just
though,
made a point, and Vicky,
Okay,
you were
Vicky, what
talking
was your
about.
point?
Vicky, you were saying about the ghost kitchens and their models. Can you elaborate on that?
So we've been doing some research. You all know that I studied this whole curbside, and it's great. And we only have it for some of the people who are in our facility. But what we've discovered is that some folks are opening ghost kitchens, and when you look up their license, you'll find a license under um, one name, and then the other models don't have any license. And so we've done some investigation, and we realized that even those kitchens that are opening for ghost kitchen, they're talking about it's $1 trillion industry. It is going to deregulate the whole restaurant or hospitality industry. And I say this to say, I'm an owner of a commercial kitchen. We're getting phone calls that people want to come over there, and we decline them because my business model is for small business. I want to incubate. I don't call myself an incubator because we're not a nonprofit. So we are there to incubate you, so to speak, get you ready so that you could be able to afford the $3,000-$4,000 rent that you're gonna be asked to pay in order to do that. Like there is a kitchen called what do you call it again? It's called what's the kitchen name in Miami? 44 kitchens opening up, and these guys have money. They're putting it, and most of them have shopped us. And I'm like, and people ask me, why aren't you worried? I'm like, I'm not worried because I service the small business. I'm not about the big, you have to have money. And from what I know with the people I service, money is always an issue. In the sense, what I mean by that, to start a brick and mortar, we give people the possibility of starting a small business with maybe 500 a month or 1,000 a month, something that even if they have a second job, they could still pay for it and give them, so that they could crawl, grow, whatever. But the ghost kitchen is going to deregulate
But what do
the
you mean
whole,
by deregulating, Vicky? Why do you think that? Because
because
people
the
are
departments,
because
because the
people are
depart
pretending to cook at a ghost kitchen and doing it at home.
you have that number one.
Okay.
They're doing it at home, and then there are a lot of them who are coming about with no licensing.
Mm-hmm.
No licensing, and the department DBPR, for example, in Florida, they have no clue where to put them.
Right.
And then for me at my facility, the few kitchens, we have about four concepts that were caterers and that would close, that we switch over to curbside. They're doing very well, but I stopped taking them in. I stopped adding more because I needed to pause to understand, because I choose to do business responsibly.
Yeah.
Because even it is going to crash. It is going to crash because you're going to have an oversaturated market of restaurants, and then there's going to be too many choices, and people, even the curbside and delivery, is going to start suffering because you can only, I have, for example, I have one company there. Another one could be making 30 tickets, and the other one is making 2 tickets for the day. So, and then you have all of those platforms that are taking 30%. So, and it's a lot of people who don't know the industry that are trying to open a
30%
restaurant.
is a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're talking about people calling themselves chefs. I have 15 plus years, about two small, mid-sized, three bedroom, two bath houses on my back, if you know what I mean, in terms of student loans. And I had to create my journey. I had to create
True.
my
True.
path. And if it was for me to work in the industry, I would never make it. I'm a
Absolutely.
mother with 3 children. Thank God I have an unsung hero who's my husband, who supports my career. So I'm special, you know,
Right.
and I'm fully aware of that. And
Right.
I can use my facility as leverage to build my consultation, to be able to leverage in other places. But even me as the owner of a 7,400 square foot facility, I am surviving because I am able to do business responsibly.
But you're doing it responsibly, and so that's what we're all talking about, right? So when we're having these conversations with these young culinarians, we have to be honest with them. The way that we did the food business prior to COVID is not a thing anymore. It's
No.
not real, and there's no way to make money in that. You've got to think outside of the box and start looking at these non-traditional culinary careers that people don't talk about: recipe development, food photography, food styling, you know, all of that.
And consultation has to come with you see a lot of people who are coaches or consultation, but yet they've never opened a brick and mortar themselves. And I laugh because it's like, how can you come and consult me on building a restaurant when you never build any kitchen, let alone a restaurant, by yourself? So
MBA doesn't do it for the restaurant business if you don't have boots on the ground.
Exactly, because again, I have my background is in hospitality. I graduated from FIU. I went to Le Cordon Bleu, and I did a master's degree in dietetics and nutrition. Do you know how many people call themselves nutritionists and are killing people out there? But again, I choose to do things responsibly because at the end of the day, that is my reputation.
Sure.
I will never do anything. And I go by, what would Jesus do? If it's not going to work, I don't do it. So that's why, Chef Stephan, I keep to myself. I don't get too involved as much anymore because there's a lot of things, even when you're trying to do good, people do come for you big time.
It's not called doing things responsibly. It's called having professional ethics.
Yeah.
It's called having
professional.
It's called having professional integrity.
Of course.
But to respond to your last comment, people come for me every day. People come at me every day. I tell them, come over. I've got a back enough to handle you and the rest of you.
But you know what, Chef? But
and I'm not doing this for them. And I'm not doing this for them.
I don't have any energy for it anymore.
Honestly, not everybody wants that fight. I mean, I can say the same thing. My circle used to be like this, super big. Now it's the small on purpose.
And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you why I want that fight. Because a lot of people don't get it. A lot of people don't understand that the sacrifice that a chef like Vicky makes, taking on a project like she's done, to give you an opportunity to open your own fucking business, excuse my French, okay? They don't understand what that means. They don't understand the sacrifice it means. They don't understand that there are days, okay, that we have problems coming up with rent.
Yeah.
There are days where I wake up with so much pain that I could curse my mother. If she was close to me.
Hey, Chef Stephan, that's a good way to end it all, boss.
No, and let me tell you, when I see my mother, because the last episode that I had in March 2019, where I ended up in the hospital with almost losing both of my legs. Okay, if not my life. She spent 30 days sitting on a chair, literally sitting on a chair with me in that hospital room. So yeah, so you want to take me on? Come on, baby. Come on.
Yes. And with that, you guys, this has been amazing. You guys don't click off when I end the broadcast because I have something I want to ask you guys. You know, I have to have my after show conversation. For your viewers, thank you guys for watching us. We hope that we gave you some knowledge and some information. And please, if you're a small business, you need to look into the SBA Restaurant Revitalization Grant. They start Friday. They're prioritizing and businesses. If you don't know what you need to do, reach out to your SBA office. Kimberly Brock Brown for president. We will see you guys next Wednesday.
Yes.
Sorry, I can shut up, Erica.